This was nice hot lemon. It's a lemon sip to help decongest me. And yeah, I've also pushed the live button. So hi, everyone.
I can tell because you've changed how you're talking.
Oh,
you're not fooling me. Hello, everybody.
Darn. Plus, I was over there for a bit.
So...
No, I was going to say we've got a different type of stream this evening. It's mainly going to be Jan on the screen, which is actually quite fortunate. I do apologise if I sneeze or sniffle throughout the stream. I've got a lovely cold. I'm going to blame it on the children because I don't leave the house, so there's nowhere cold can get to me without them. I've also topped up on, as you probably heard there, lemon sip and stuff. I've also got a coffee, so if I get a bit happy and excitable, you know why.
I might have lemons in the States. I can't remember.
It's paracetamol, decongestant, and water. Oh yeah, that bit as well. So awesome.
Also, I can't see the chat this time because I only have the 2 monitors. So Mikey's in charge of reading the chat. So if I don't respond to you immediately and say hi to everybody, that's why. Can you hear us?
Yes. And good evening, one and all. So we are going to be mainly looking at Jan's screen. We'll take it off in a few minutes once people pop in. I am not seeing the chat update, which is very unusual.
You should open the thing in a different window.
Maybe that's what I'll do.
Let me just check that there's people chatting.
Yes, there is. There is. It's just not. It's not showing me everybody. I'm glad. Yep. Good evening, Roderick, and good evening, Governor, and good evening, Todd. Howdy. How is everybody doing this evening? I'm quite excited for this. So just for those who might not have tuned in last week, we're going to mix up our live streams a little bit. So it's going to be a 4-week rolling thing. Last week was our general update where we'll just have a bit of chat about what everybody's doing. Canopy chat. And tonight and every week too is going to be a live stream where Jan's going to be in Godot. I've said coding. Obviously, it won't always be coding. We might be playing with grid maps or other things, materials in Godot. And then every 3rd week will be a Blender live stream. That'll be me next week. I think I'm going to have a look at geometry nodes. I've been playing around in them and trying to get my head around some vector math. So I think that's going to be pretty exciting, especially if you're into art and you haven't really looked at vector maths before, because I'm going to be taking a dum-dum approach to it. And then week 4, we are going to be doing a sort of a games stream where we're going to pick a game. If you've got any suggestions for a game, then do shout out. Preferably one you can get into relatively quickly, because obviously otherwise we've got to play a ton of tutorial. We'll make sure we're brushed up on the games anyway, but then we'll talk about the design decisions that people have made, the artistic decisions, how the game might be working in the background. You can only make guesses on those type of things anyway. And good evening, Gerard.
Hello, Gerard.
I'm going to make this font bigger. Can I do that? Ooh. Yeah, everybody's massive now.
So this week, we're going to be focusing on the game I've been working on, this project I've been working on, called Tac-Tics, which, before you see it, it's very rough and ready. I've made a lot of progress, but there are some really fun bugs, some of which I haven't tracked down yet, mostly to do with the AI and the pathfinding. Yeah. Actually, the pathfinding is pretty good. It's the AI, because we've switched to a finite state machine, because I don't think we need anything more complicated. But, of course, because this wasn't planned features, I've just been adding things I think of them and then removing them when I don't like them. There's a lot of spaghetti code, which makes this kind of developing prone to bugs. So we're going at the stage where I'm going to have to remove a whole bunch of stuff and just start it from scratch just to have it cleaner. But this all started because I was trying to animate a 3D thing. So
and it just took off from there.
It wasn't going to be a game anyway. So yeah, with that, I could give a quick demonstration of what the game is at the moment.
Before you do, one final bit of housekeeping. I'll try and remember to. We'll have to go through this almost every stream that we do these type of things. It is, and the Blender one next week. It's usually going to be unrehearsed, and it's going to be diving into hot code, or it could be hot code in Blender as well. But it's going to be a live experience, so feel free to ask questions. I'm going to be like the producer this evening and checking for Jan so he can focus on what he's doing. I'll interrupt him with your questions as we go. It can be what we're talking about, or closely associated would be great, rather than what did you have for dinner. Those sort of questions we can have at the very end when we ask.
A microwave curry, because I didn't have a lot of time. And I'm not proud of it. That's what they had.
But yes, it's live and hot, and over to you.
I don't have a plan of what I'm going to be working on, so we're just going to see what happens. But should we start with a quick rundown of how the game's looking so far?
Yeah, yep. I will share your screen, and I'm not on this. It's just Jan, so we get to see him.
Okay.
There.
Now, as I believe you can't hear the sounds, I'm going to mute them. There we go.
Oh, we
The
have a
sounds
menu
are
now.
very good.
Nice.
But Mikey can demonstrate that later if we want. Also, if you wait a few seconds, the background will change color, which I'm very proud of. This halftone effect isn't a shader. I just looked up how to make it in GIMP because I figured it'd be funny comic booky. There we go. There's a little comic change. So we can have between 1 and 4 players. Actually, we can have between 0 and 4 players. If I do that, just watch the AI fight. The AI is pretty stupid. It will kill itself a lot, but let's see what we have so far. It will take a second to load up.
Whilst it's just loading, I was playing an earlier version of this earlier on today, and despite them being a little bit dumb at the moment, so was I. You know, so it's quite
well. The problem is every now and again they like Blue gets stuck for a second, or they fail to detect a bomb or a player and just keep walking into it. Like that's the bug I've got to solve. The actual pathfinding is working very well. We're using A star. Go ahead. You weasel! I'm red. That was a legit kill.
This is what I was saying earlier on. They actually did something smart.
Like there's stuff in there. Like there is actually an AI. It is making decisions. It's very simple. I mean, I say it's an AI. It's a state machine, and it's trying to avoid power downs and rush for pickups. And if the pickup's gone, it'll change direction. And if it detects that it's in range and in the firing line of a bomb, it's supposed to get out the way. And if it runs into a player or a bomb, it's supposed to say, "Can I fire?" Either way, run for it. But it doesn't always do that. Sometimes it just runs straight for a bomb. We've also got top-down mode.
Oh,
so
nice.
If you want to play this 2D, it's exactly the same. It's just different camera. This one's orthographic. Blue has decided he's had enough of it all. So yeah, well done, Yellow.
Nice. And in fact, it's great to see that you can flip between the two cameras going on there. Two different cameras. Yep. Flipping between them. And how did the 3D nature come about? Was that the Celebration camera that kind of took?
No, the 3D actually started it. This all started. Well, in fact, let me show you the player character. I was making some sprite sheets. I was like, how difficult would it be to do this in 3D as well? So I made this body and I gave it an animation player, an animation tree. And it's incredibly simple. I mean, it's just some mesh instances with some capsules. Like that's all it is, and some spheres. And then I put an outline on it, which is not too difficult. But then all we're doing is we're saying, here's your walk animation.
It's a very straightforward walk animation, and you're blending between
here's your victory animation.
Yep.
And here's your explode animation. Bow! It makes a sound when you do that. So it was just me playing with that. It's like, well, I want to see how they move. All right. So I put the animation tree player in so that when I'm actually moving them, I can move smoothly between them. And it's like, well, how does it look far away? So I put the camera back. It's like, you know what this is? So then I made a grid map. So let's take a look at the level. We'll start with level template, which I need to rename. So this is our basic thing. We have a floor, naturally. We have a grid map. At the moment, it's just a basic grid with some obstacles in it, which I should have hang on a minute. Did I remove you?
Dun, dun, dun.
Let me take a look at something. Just going to open level city. Because they're not supposed to be part of the base level. They're supposed to... No, I didn't. Okay, let's do that. So thankfully now in Godot, we can grab all of these and we can do cut, save, and we can go to the city, which has a lot more grid map information. So it's going to take a little while to load. And we can go to obstacles and we can paste it. There we go. All right, so some basic things. Let's take a look at the level real quick. These blue things are spawners for power-ups. And all they're doing is when they receive a signal, like the game will decide, well, in fact, the power-up spawner will decide, it's time for one of you to spawn. I choose you. You're available. You don't currently have a spawn on you. I've kept track. So I choose you. If you do have a spawn on you, I'm not going to pick you. So every 10 seconds, it's going to pick one. If it's using this time here, actually, if you don't pick one up after, I think, 12 seconds, it removes it. And then, so and there's never more than 2 on the map. All of this is changeable. Like we can decide how many we want. So at the moment, there's a max of 2 pickups, and here are the types of pickups we have. I've got them dropped in as resources. And we can take a look at them. So let's say power up, pick up, isn't it? There we go. Pick up extra bomb. Here we go. And we have a little animation, and we need to, here we go, let's spawn you in. Whoop. And it's just a sprite 3D, a particle effect for when it spawns in and for when it spawns out. And then when it's actually in the world, we have a bobbing animation, which you won't notice in the overhead in orthographic because everything is the same size, but you will notice here so they won't get stuck behind blocks. So that's the thinking there.
That's really awesome that you can trigger code within the animation. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, the animation players are amazing. So we've got those, and then from there we can make something like Level City. So I've got some props. As you can see, ridiculously simple props. There's no collision. These trees are just two meshes, and I've put this outline on. I can show you how to make the outline. It's very simple. I made some benches, and then we've made this whole city out of grids. I didn't used to have all this because when it was here, when the camera was just here, you couldn't see most of it.
So you didn't need it
But
at
then
all.
when you put the victory camera in, you have to be able to like see all kinds of angles. I've also put a little Easter egg just for Mikey. Oh, it's gone.
The helipad.
Pad.
Yep.
Yeah. But this.
Don't worry, I saw it earlier.
Is the greatest 3D asset making that we've ever done, and I think I should be in charge of assets now. No, I should.
If you just make the front of that a little bit longer, then and make it pink, it looks like Lady Penelope's car from Thunderbirds.
It does. Hello. We have a fire hydrant. So while we're here, what should we look at first? I'm not watching chat, so if there's any questions, now's a good chance. You know what we should do? We should put in some sort of different hints. So let's go into our loader. This goes in the background and is always running, and it handles background loading using an resource interactive loader. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a node here. I'm just going to call hints. And I'm going to give that a script. I'm going to give that a script. There we go. I remember how to do this. Export, and we want an array of strings that are going to be multi-line.
It's a suspicious car, Roderick says. It's very sus.
Car. I was actually thinking of putting curves on the road, the paths on the road, and having it follow them. But like, I'm not yet at the point where I want animated backgrounds, but I do want them.
That's a really nice bit of polish, isn't it? But when it's very easy to get sort of caught up in polishing a game when you still need to focus on some of the other things, because it can feel it's a bit of procrastination, really, isn't it?
Yep.
Away from the main things.
I mean, there's a lot the juice that we currently put in adds. Like in the explosions, there's quite a few things happening. I'm changing the FOV on the camera very briefly, so it's zooming in and out, and it's actually going further than it needs to. So there's a little bit of a bounce that makes it feel like an explosion. There's two different particles in the explosion, and there's particles coming from the ceiling to look like dust, most of which you don't notice. But as I add more and more of them and then found the right sound effect, the explosions started feeling really like an important part of it. Before that, the game was just like, yeah, okay, you can walk around here. But once that starts going in, you feel connected. So I'd argue there's a good reason to do that.
Oh, right, totally.
So
Todd, by the way, says he loves the creative use of the basic meshes.
Thank you.
I mean,
it was a lot of fun. I kept going, do I want to go into Blender and make some assets? It's like, actually, this aesthetic is really working for me. I'll show you in a minute. I did expand the grid map, so it's not just cubes. Let's just put in a second tip, just in case. Great. And now let's make those work. So we're going to do this on, what's the begin load? Here we go. Actually, on ready, variable bar equals hint label. So can't be bothered finding that each time. You gonna? No? No? Okay, fine. We'll just drag you in.
I was just going to say, with the basic building blocks, it's something we actually focus on in the free Blender course. So if you want to actually play around in Blender and make things just a little bit more advanced, but still focusing on just the primitive sides of things, we've actually got a free course on our on our website, Getting Started in Blender. Even though Blender's in version 3 now, this covers 2.9 and onwards, all of the stuff that you're using right from the very beginning is, is about moving around primitives and being able to work in that 3D space. So it's a great point there about using those basic meshes to flesh out a scene.
I mean, with the right color palette, and I did a lot of work trying to find a good color and the right lighting, you actually don't need very complex stuff, not for this style of game. And I think, I mean, so far, 2 8-year-olds have really enjoyed playing this.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of game that I really want to make it fun to play multiplayer. We're still talking about, is this the kind of project where we want to do an online multiplayer? Because I would love to play this with all its different modes and power-ups that I've planned with Mikey. But that depends on what this becomes. We're still having that conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say hints label dot text equals, and I need to pick one of the hints. So I'm going to go hints dot hints. And which one are we going to pick? We're going to pick a random one. Well, we can't just pick a random number, so we need to modulo it. So let's go hints dot size, which is a function.
Nice.
Now we should have a 1 in 2 chance of getting an actual load message in.
So Todd also says sometimes when you're taking a break to do silly things like the polish, it can give you a bit of a mental break from trying to solve bugs and things. I think that's absolutely valid. Whether it's actually taking a bit of procrastination from the game or just a break and doing something cognitively different can make a big change. Todd says he would like to play it.
So 2 days ago, I started working on the AI and I was exhausted. So I made a lot of stupid mistakes, a lot of coding mistakes, a lot of typos, a lot of errors in my logic. And I spent most of yesterday trying to fix that. And today, at the point, I was like, you know what? Let's just start it again. Do we have better loading tips? That's the same tip. Let's see if we can get a random
better loading tips. I will switch when we're just discussing things to the dual camera, just so you know there, Jan. This is the first time that we've done anything like this, so...
Come on. Yes! Okay, so we can add as many hits as we like.
Nice.
And because it's done in a node, it's nice and easy, multi-line text. Great. So things we could do, we could look at more levels. Oh, let me show you what we've got here. So if I load level city again, originally I was going to be just blocks, except for the player characters. The player characters are cylinders. The bots are not cylinders.
Roderick says, I am having mental breaks between even more breaks. Does that count? Yes, breaks. You need to
procrastinate through your procrastination.
That's called doing work, isn't it?
So if we go to our map, which currently has way too many functions in the script, that's one of the things I need to fix. We have all these blocks. I found a palette on low spec called Gotham 30. It was inspired by Batman, so I thought that sounds perfect. Before that, I had a very pastel-y one. Didn't feel quite as good. But I've also put some wedges in because that kind of detailing just made all the difference.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, if we're not putting things like textures on any of these surfaces, it can be very, very hard to convey shape. Did you delete part of your wall?
Yep. Shall we quickly look at how to, in case you guys don't know, a quick and dirty way to make an outline shader. Won't look perfect, but if you've got rounded objects, and especially from a distance, they'll work great. So let's just put a mesh instance in here. And I'm just going to go mesh, let's do a sphere. That's the best kind. And let's give you a new spatial material. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give this now albedo, just so you can see it. It's a nice green color. And let's keep it in keeping with everything else. Let's give it a toon shader, toon specular, and put some roughness in. You won't notice this unless you put a light in. So let's put a light in. Oh, you guys can't hear the music. Never mind. All right, so here is our basic toon shader, but it's missing something. So we go back here, and we want our next pass. We want a new. So what's going to happen? It's going to draw the material and then draw a second material. So when I draw the second material, you'll notice it covers it up. That's okay. We can fix that. Let's go to our next pass, and I'm going to give that black albedo. And we'll just make it unshaded. We don't need to worry about anything else. Okay, so far, kind of just pointless. So what we do is we go to parameters, and we're going to change cull mode from back to front. So we can't see the front of the material, we can only see the back. And then we click on grow, and we're going to grow it by a certain amount. And there is our outline shader. So we bring in a different material, we get sued by Disney.
I was going to say maybe Dead Mouse at one point.
It could be Dead Mouse. It could sued by Dead Mouse. But you'll notice that wherever the black material is being interrupted by a back culling material, not a front culling material, you don't see it. So it's a quick and dirty way to make an outline. It's not perfect. You will get little glitches like this, which you'll notice on things like Victory Cam.
I don't know. I quite like those. It adds a bit of an aesthetic to it, as if it's because then it's not just the outline. I appreciate you in some circumstances you're going to get.
I've noticed Among Us VR has this, so I feel justified if they're using this technique. I'm down with it. Not going to say that.
Of course, I suppose it might look a bit worse on a higher poly model if you've got intersecting parts and things. I don't know. It
doesn't do well with cubes.
Ah, yes.
Right. So it's fine. I'm okay with it, but it doesn't quite work.
I think that might be able to be solved. So the reason why you can't see that is it's actually grown the faces out so you can see through the corners, which is not a problem when it's a sphere. I wonder if you could change the render pass so that it's just the other way round instead. So this one's in front, so you have the outline first. And then you show it both, but put this one on top.
Possibly. I mean, right now they're all using the same outline, so let's make this unique. Where is render pass here?
I remember seeing a render pass when I was playing.
Yeah. We've found it before. I just can't remember where it is. Oh, wait, it's under geometry. Nope.
How about putting them on the other way around then? So the purple one's on top is the second pass. Do you reckon that would
the same problem?
Do you reckon?
It's but culling one of the faces.
But if you cull, what I was thinking was if it was just culling you don't have to cull, do you? If it's the other way around. Because the purple one will be in front.
True.
I don't know if it'll work. I'm throwing my ideas at you.
I mean, I can always undo it if it doesn't. Parameters, turn off. Oh, no, we won't grow.
Cull mode. You could do both. Does it have no cull mode?
New canvas. It does. Yes. Okay. Next pass, spatial material. Yeah, no.
No, separating them out those faces still, isn't it? And not.
Well, the black has to be bigger than the other color.
Yeah. Okay. The only thing I can think of there is to actually make physical mesh objects slightly bigger, and set it up.
And honestly, I mean, if it was like there are some fancy shader techniques you can use, but from a distance or to make it look like a sketch. It works well. I like the aesthetic, so I'm keeping it. But otherwise, I know that, for instance, GD Quest has a whole series of outline shaders you can use.
James was asking, can you weld it somehow? I don't think there's a way of making that without extra geometry, which is what we just touched upon.
Or a shader.
Yeah.
So yes, the way to fix this would be a shader, which is not my wheelhouse. I mean, it's something I can do. It's not something I'm very good at. I have to go back and look at all the materials again. But I know that GD Quest has one that, actually has three, one of which would work quite well. This is just a quick and dirty way of doing it.
When it comes to these streams, we're going to try our best not to be, not necessarily not to look at documentation, but we obviously want it to be somewhat entertaining for you guys watching. We'll go and look up things in documentation if we need it. But at the same time, well, it's useful, isn't it? If you're looking up documentation, it shows that we need to have a look at the documentation. I mean, certainly if I was doing a stream net right now on Blender Python, I don't know all the API calls, so I'm going to have to go and have a look at the stuff. But I'd try and prep that beforehand.
Something we've got on all players, all NPCs, and all obstacles is the ability to set the material override to a different color. Now, I could just pick a bunch of materials, but I decided colors would be a lot quicker because I could just add and remove them. And because I'm using this color palette plugin, I have all the colors in my color palette here, so I can just pick the one I want. The obstacles will just pick randomly between them. The players and NPCs will use the player ID. So player 1 will always be the same color, and we could change the color here. But what I want to show you is the NPCs, because we have the AI brain. Again, took some inspiration from GD Quest. I went to look at their state machine. I don't know if I'm going to rewrite it or not, but so far it's working great. So we have a brain, and it has our state machine, which is a new class we've made. That should actually be up there, shouldn't it? We've got a signal that I'm not currently using, but we can. And all it's doing is it's handling which state we're using. Its state is a node underneath. Sorry, I thought you were going to say something. I saw you waving.
Oh yeah, everybody, Yang can see me. I was just laughing. Yeah. Jelly has just come into the chat. Evening, Jelly. He said, Jelly. Nope, still not learning shader code. Well, you said that about vectors, so tough. You're going to learn it.
I have a lot of trouble understanding shader code. I will admit, it's something that's always not helped. Underneath these, we have a bunch of nodes, right? So it's going to try and call the node by its name. So we have the name coming in as part of a signal. With an optional dictionary. Well, the dictionary is not optional, but the concepts of the dictionary is. And it's going to just say, get the node by its name. So anything in here, I can call by name. And all of these are states, which all inherit from state, which is a node that I wrote. Very simple. Just has, who's my state machine? Why did I put that in there?
I don't know.
Huh. Oh, I know why. That's not part of the state machine. Everything I'm using the AI for needs the A-star navigation, so I just put it in. We can go through the physics process. I'm not using the process at all, so I haven't put it in, but if I was going to, I'd put it in here. And then something for entering and exiting the state. Each state is responsible for the conditions to transition to another state. So if we take a look at Wander, all it's doing is picking a destination. The owner has a function to get reachable points. So which A-star points can I physically reach? Which ones are not blocked off? Obstacles and bombs will block them. Players won't, because it's computationally heavy to do that every frame, so we're not doing it. And it leads to a problem. If an NPC is on a point and you disable that point, it now can't leave that point. So we're not. It's going to pick a random destination point. It's going to say, is this in the line of fire of a bomb? If it is, then run away from it. If not, go to your path. So we're not dealing with going to the path as part of this function, because it's just picking a place to wander to. What we will do, is go follow path, which has some things in it. Basic error coding, all we're taking in is the destination. And if we have one, go there. If not, let me know, because that's the kind of bug that's really easy to miss. So get path destination. I'm just going to say, hey, A-star, what's the closest point to where I am? And what's the closest point to where I'm going? And then we're going to say, hey, owner, here's your new path.
Nice.
And then every frame, we'll say, okay, have we crossed into the line of sight of a bomb? If not, am I next to a threat, another player, or a bomb? If not, sorry, this shouldn't be a player. This should just be a bomb. I can fix that later. If not, place a bomb. If not, move to the next point. And if everything else fails, just go to the idle state. What's the idle state, you say? It's a weird thing to say to yourself, but fine. It's just, if there's a wait time, add it. If not, use the default timer in idle, which is 1/4 of a second. And then I want you to wait. And after 1/4 of a second, are you in danger? Are there any power-ups here? No? Yep. All right, go for a wander. Right? So we're just transitioning that way.
So you were talking about that earlier when we were just going through the AI in general. There was a reason, and I've completely forgotten it, why you had to add that wait timer in.
There is a reason. Well, let's turn it on to 0. It's because it looks less realistic.
Interesting. Apart from
they just won't stop. I mean, we have the same kind of idiocies, but it feels less like that.
It feels like you're competing against the computer rather than a fair player.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't feel like AI. They just feel like random bits of movement.
It's
like I have to think. They're not even slowing down for corners.
It's AU.
Sorry?
Artificial unintelligence.
Artificial ignorance. So I find a quarter of a second is actually a little bit too long, but it's one we can put in there. We can also randomize it a little bit. We can say a range between an eighth of a second and a quarter of a second just to get some variety in there. That will stop everyone moving at the sort of the same time at the beginning.
Yeah.
We've got some more we could show you. I'll probably add some more. There is one I want to add. I don't know if we're ready for it yet because there's a lot of bugs, but I want to say if there aren't enough obstacles, you have a new option. You can try and hunt down a player, which is just go to where that player is right now. They might move. That's fine. You will hopefully close the distance.
It's interesting. I was reading about, so we've, I'll just do both of us for a second. So I was looking at the AI used for Pac-Man. And it's interesting. Obviously, back then, with whatever processes they had, you couldn't, like we're trying to avoid here, running an AI algorithm every frame they couldn't do. So Pac-Man had a smell, and every frame that it went every frame that went down, it incremented or decremented the counter on how long it had been since he'd gone there. And they would wait until they find a smell before tracking down. Which I thought was a really interesting way, because then you're essentially zoning or quadranting any AI activity to when a player is sort of within range, but more intelligently than just a radius around the player.
See, it's interesting you say that. I had an idea for a mode for this, because depending on what this project is, I want to add some more modes in.
Yeah.
If this project is a game that we,
totally
work on and put on Steam and whatever else we're going to do with it, then it's a very different beast from a course. So we're still like trying to figure out what is this. But if it's a game, one of the modes I'd like to put in is inspired by Pac-Man.
Pills?
Where there's a maze, and the four of you are trying to bomb the Pac-Man before he eats all the pills.
You are the ghosts.
Yeah!
Oh, that's awesome.
Right?
Okay, so yeah, it is a game now. I'm not gonna sold.
I mean, there's a bunch of different levels I'd like to make. I mean, with the simplicity of the blocks and all the rest of it, the colors, I want to keep it as simple as I can.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that I can't really do without making better props. Like I'd like to do a pirate ship, but without things like rigging and stuff, it's just not going to read.
Rigging on a pirate ship, pun intended.
No, I mean the pirate rigging.
Oh.
I don't mean rigging the mesh. I mean the ropes.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay.
We're on the same page, don't worry.
It's not a pun. There's a few things I'd like to do. Like one thing I did play a little bit with some very simple shader water, but it just didn't work. But I'd like to do a stormy level.
Yeah.
Where it's all dark with lightning flashes and there's rain across the screen. But, and here's the fun bit, there's wind. So you're slower if you're going towards it, and you're faster if you're going away.
And it can be dynamic, of course, as well.
It can be dynamic.
That'll put a very interesting spin onto it. But it would have to be, obviously, a game at that point, because you're starting to branch out to quite a lot of scope creep.
If this is a game, then none of this is a problem. If it's a course, that's not what a course is. A course is, here are the techniques, here's the decisions we made, here's why we made them, now go expand it, right? The idea is not let's make a full commercial game. The idea is let's teach you how to make a game.
Exactly. Before we get bombs rolling in the wind, that would be amazing, Roderick. So Todd earlier on was saying that he would play it, and obviously it'd be great to get something out to some people to play, but it's not in a playable state really at the moment.
Well, it's in a multiplayer state, absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
You can play against the AI. It's not unfun. Often they will just kill themselves before you can get to them.
Yeah.
But once they've cleared those first few obstacles, they can actually be quite tricky. And earlier on, Mike was sort of running around and legit got trapped by an AI. Same thing happened to me just now on stream.
Yeah.
Once Mike got trapped while he was playing, the NPC refused to register he was there, so it wasn't moving. But he was where it wanted to go.
Oh, yeah, it just blocked me in.
So it just stood there with the bomb hissing down, going, bye.
It was fantastic. So yeah, I think whatever happens to it, I think we can get to a position where even if it's not a finished game, we can perhaps put it out on itch.io or somewhere like that.
I mean, I'm happy. potentially putting the game out as it is now, not like to the public, but
Yeah.
to people to stream and to live stream members or whatever it is. Live stream members, lifetime toucans or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just sort of download and play.
Pac-Man meets Worm. Sorry, Richie, I didn't see you see the message come in, or it came in out of order. So yeah, Pac-Man meets Worms. Oh no! We could do the sound effects. Yes.
I did the explosion sound effect. Mikey, do you want to pull a version and play it just so they can hear the sound effects?
Yeah, sure. Give me a moment to open up source control.
Mike, I have disagreement about the music. I think the music is perfect. Mike thinks it's okay.
I think it could be a little more in keeping with the theme. I do like the music. It's kind of, it feels a bit over dramatic, but that's
what I'm going for. Dramatic superhero, supervillain.
So it's the last pull I need.
Another thing is
forced raycast update.
Yeah. I did think that one of the things we'd need if this is a game is customization, either unlockable or just whatever it is. Yeah. So hats, colors, I don't really want to go into sparkly effects and bomb effects just because I hate that. I'm not a huge fan of hats, to be honest, but you should be able to choose a curly wig or a cowboy hat or an egg or,
Hold on. Yeah, those little things do add to the game.
I need to be a little bit careful because already people are looking at this and going, well, as Mikey said, it looks a bit like, what's it called? Housework, it's dark, stabby, I didn't do it.
It doesn't look like it did last week when it was not as flashed out, but yeah, I think the aesthetic of Among Us is starting to drift away.
A lot of people see this, like my girlfriend's 8-year-old was like, oh, they look like the guys from Among Us. I go, a little bit. That's not what I'm going for. I've never actually played the game, but
yeah. So I've turned the music volume down a little. I'm just gonna. There we go. So I don't want to be too loud in people's ears.
Okay, I can't see your screen, so
no, I'm not sharing it yet either. Right. Okay. You'll probably have the delayed version.
Okay, I'll go to YouTube.
I'll switch over to. Woo! There we go. Hopefully, yep. And where's my controller? Oh, actually, I'm gonna quit that for a second, because I want to play it with my controller and it won't play if it's not there. So give a second. No, really isn't. I'm going to turn the music down and make it full screen. Nice. Okay, let's play. And I've got my little controller here. There we go. Sorry. So they've almost killed themselves already. Oh, I want that extra bomb. Oh, no. No! No! See, the AI, despite being... and it'll automatically just go back in and play another round, which is pretty awesome. Right, now that my controller's working, I'll be able to... I win. So that's an example of the AI being suicidal. So yes. Oh, like a moth to the sparkler. Oh, they're a bit. Oh, 2 of them left. Okay. No. Ooh. Okay, he's... Yeah. Yeah.
Having a devil of a time getting to understand this ray is being hit. I've tried using the move and slide gets colliders.
Yeah.
It's not quite there yet. But the explosions.
Oh yeah, the
me.
Doom.
Not those. When they die. Pow!
I do like those.
You were thinking maybe I could make you like a Batman style thing with trumpets. It's like I don't have any, so I'll try sounding like a trumpet and recording myself, and then putting a chorus on it and listen to it. It's like, well, that's not what that sounds like, but I'm keeping it.
Oh, I need to hear that.
You have it. It's the PAL sound effect.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, we were discussing the other day about maybe having a sort of superhero 1960s theme soundtrack where it's
I mean, that's what I really want. That's why I made those explosions.
yeah.
Like the real big band kind of thing. Meantime, I like this one because it does sound very much like
It
a current
fits.
Marvel movie kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sort of overly dramatic, lots of posing.
Yeah. I mean, you a couple of days ago, I think you tried to add soft body capes to them, and that
Yes.
didn't work out too well, unfortunately.
Okay, so one with soft bodies, the physics is okay, but it's not perfect. So
Yeah.
if you turn 90 degrees, it'll turn with you. But if you change direction 180 degrees, it doesn't have time. It just gets caught in you. So that's annoying. Two, making
No
soft bodies
capes.
work in Godot is actually a little annoying. Three, the characters look less interesting.
That's an interesting thing. And again, trying these things out, that's the only way you'll find out whether or not an idea in up here translates to a good idea in practice.
Yep.
So
this is supposed to be me developing, but it's just me showing various ideas and things and talking about the game or the project or yeah.
So Roderick says the music is awesome. Sound effects are great as always.
So it took so long to find good explosions, and then I went to Free Sound, and I was like trying explosions and fireworks, all kinds of things, and then I found someone made a set of trance kick drums / explosions,
and
I'm having them.
Yeah. So
because they're not realistic, but they've got that lovely bassy quality to them.
Yes, I mean, having that presence in a game really does add to the overall feel and quality of a game. A few months back, when we were, well, maybe even like a year ago, I was playing Apex Legends quite a bit, and one of the things in that drew me to it was the sound design of the weapons, because they felt present, they felt meaty, that they had a good texture to them. Which is something you can't always describe. You know, it's a feeling rather than an actual thing.
I mean, one of the things I like is, I mean, there's a few things happening with explosions, but I don't know if you can see my screen right now.
Yep, let me switch back over.
Yep, so we're on the angled cam preview, and if I just do the shake, that's playing whenever a bomb goes off, unless it's already playing, in which case it won't, right? We don't want stuttering. And all I'm doing is animating the FOV. So let's take a look. We have these, yeah, we're using some easing as well. So we start with an FOV of 70, which is default. We go up to 71, and then we curve back down. And I was playing with like the positioning and stuff, but I found the FOV was all you needed because it just looked like you've just been pushed out the way.
Yeah.
While that's happening, we also have, let's turn this off.
It'll also have a slight distortion effect on the screen. Not a big one because it's not going to be much over that degree.
Subtle, and most people don't notice it, but it does add a lot.
I didn't notice it. Even when you said it was there, I could not see it.
A little bit of dust that falls down. It's just one of those details that I really like, because not having it there actually feels slightly different, but having it there means no one noticed. But having that with the shake just works.
Yeah. Little things like that do add up to a much better feeling game. They really do.
There was also, if you guys haven't seen the video I did this week on how I made these explosions, it's up, it's on YouTube, it's free. I was really pleased with how easy this came about, how well this came about. And it's actually quite a simple little animation, quite a simple little particle. But especially given, and let me just stop this, I can't, especially given how bad these actual images are.
Imagine if the cape,
it's just me messing around a GIMP.
Imagine if the cape got caught up in the bomb. Boom. Thanks for that,
the
Richie.
original Bomberman did have power-ups to do things like being able to walk through bombs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to copy it too much because, you know, you want to make it something that's different and has its own reason to play. One of the things I did think was a level where on some paths you can wrap around, like have portals.
That would be awesome. I'm digging that. Again, sort of like the original Pac-Man, you could go off one side. Did the original Pac-Man have that? I don't know if the original had. The ones I've played have. I'm too young for the original Pac-Man.
Not me.
That's why I said I'm too young.
So yeah, there's a lot going on and a lot to work on. I spent the entire day refactoring the current navigation I've got. I put everything in map, which is really stupid. because the map shouldn't really be dealing with like A-star plotting. It should just be dealing with generating the map. So I renamed game state to options. I moved all of this stuff to game state, and I introduced so many bugs. It took me the entire day to get the thing to load, and then none of the NPCs would leave their original full squares, and I couldn't figure out why. So in the end, it's like, okay, if I'm going to do that, we're going to just rewrite navigation from scratch. Like, we're not going to reuse this code because this is silly.
Yeah. But that happens all the time, doesn't it? You start doing something, you improve upon it, and then you realize that the stuff you've done so far needs a complete rewrite in order for it to work.
You can keep going. It's just the problems are going to keep going, right? They're going to keep expanding.
Yeah, totally.
So why are you doing that when it's just better to make something simpler and cleaner? There is a lot going on. Some of these things I'm quite proud of. One that was surprisingly difficult to figure out is when you're spawning explosions, which are under map, I think. Way too much stuff in here. Spawn explosions. All right. So we start off nice and simple, right? We have, let's just go to full screen mode. We're not erasing the points here. Something else is dealing with that. That's fine. So first thing we do is resetting the bomb points. And what that is, that's telling A-star, this point is no longer disabled. Please re-enable it. You can now move through this square again. Reason for that is bombs have collision. And if we don't do that, the NPCs try and move through them. They try and move through them anyway, but that's how I'm trying to stop that. All right. Can spawn a dictionary containing north, east, south, west with all values to true. We'll come back to that. Distance. We have explosion distance to the bomb that will change for the character. Right? So the character will tell the map, I'm spawning an explosion. Here is the position, and here is my explosion power. It can go from 2, because you have to include the center, to 5. And those are hard limits. You can't ever, there are power ups and power downs, but you can't go less than 2 and you can't go higher than 5.
Oh, there are power downs as well. Interesting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're in there now. The blue and green ones are power downs.
Gotcha.
Okay. So we have our spawn points, which is much like this, but instead of being a dictionary of Booleans, it's a dictionary of vectors. And I'm using the distance because for distance in range, so it's going to start with 1, and then it's going to 2, all the way up to 5.
Yeah.
Fine. For spawn point and spawn points, so far so good. If the direction is not in the used cells, which is a grid map function, it means there's no used grid here. So there's no block. Because we don't want to spawn explosions in blocks, it won't make a difference to the gameplay, but it will make a difference to performance. When I first did this, we did a test. We put down a whole bunch of bombs and basically covered the map, and the explosions froze my computer.
That's no good.
And one of the reasons was so bombs can be exploded, right? So if an explosion hits a bomb, it will explode.
Yeah.
But I was queue-freeing the bomb after spawning the explosions, so they were triggering each other.
Not a nice feedback loop to get stuck in.
No, quite a loud one. All right. So if the direction is not in the used cells, and it can spawn here, can spawn being one of these, then I want you to put an explosion here, put it at its translation. That should really be a global transform origin, and then add it to the scene. Great. I'm also changing the Y position to 0.676 because that's the position that the players are over the center of the map, just because of the way I've got my map set up. All right. Now, so far, so good. If I remove these 2 lines of code, though, we have an interesting problem. So it won't notice unless we get a power up. But this took me ages to figure out. So far, we have these bombs. Hopefully, we're going to bomb power up real soon, and no one will die. Stay alive, please. I'm trying to show something off. All right, now we need a power up. That is the right power up. Thank you. Okay, pink, stay alive. Thank you. It's mine. All right. Watch the. Okay, let's just do it now. Okay, the explosion went through the obstacle.
And you want it to be blocked.
That's no
you?
good.
Yeah.
Right. If there's an obstacle there, the obstacle needs to explode. So we can't put that in the grid map. because anything in the grid map, there's no explosion there. So it's going to be its own object, but the explosion will spawn on the obstacle, but it can go no further. And the way I solved that was with this can spawn dictionary. So if the global direction, which is the to global map to world, is in the obstacles list, then take the direction we're going in, which is spawn point, and spawn points being northeast, southwest, and change that value to false. And now when we run through it again on the next one, we can go through in the distance, but that one, let's say east, can't spawn anymore. So we're not even going to run that check.
Yeah.
So that's how we solved that. It was such a fiddly little piece of thing, but once I figured out how to do it, it just worked. It is nice when they just work. We're also changing the A-star weighting for each bomb. So bombs and the immediate area around them, the explosion area around them, are more expensive. Doesn't stop them from running up and hugging them, though. They like to hug those bombs.
Perhaps a weighting of 1 or 0, whatever it happens to be, might be a better way, a way of solving the them running
it has
into
to be
the
dynamic
bomb
as well. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a work in progress, but it is coming together. And I'm really enjoying working on it, and there's a lot that's really fun. I mean, there's little things like when you change the overhead mode, change to this light because it has no specular and it's overhead, and you can just see everything. Whereas this light actually makes it hard to see the level.
Yes. Yeah, I can see that. Those added shadows in there, it's going to be difficult to move your character around, etc. Yeah.
While we're here, let's show off something real quick.
That's real shiny.
Directional light. Where'd you go? Oh, that's those two. World environment.
Oh, darkness. So this would be like for the night scene or with the stormy.
Modes. Like you could just do a dark scene.
Oh, where you won. No, I like that. That's a nice effect.
One of the effects I'm really happy with is the tiny bit of refraction on the obstacles as well. That worked out really well. Okay, guys. Oh, wait, the NPCs don't have lights. That's the problem. Let's give the NPCs some lights. There we go. Problem with instant sync, if you're not paying attention, you don't do what you think you're doing.
Hey.
So they got a little flashlighty torch thing in front of them.
And the area around them's lit up as well. So spotlight out
they got
the front.
Spotlights on them.
Yeah.
Ah! Come back! It's actually much harder because you can't see the obstacles. Ta-da!
That's awesome.
So yeah, there's a lot we can do just with the lights in the environment that, just really ties the room together.
Well, it can make a big difference how you light your game. Again, it's a feeling.
You a lot of options, right? Yeah. Lots of different ways you can do it. So one of the conversations we've been having is, do we try and port this over to Godot 4? Like, Godot 4 is not ready well, it's not stable. It's not ready for actual projects yet. So it's not a great idea. But the navigation system is so much easier to use.
I mean, it's one of the issues, of course, doing anything in Godot 4 at the moment is the whole things can change. We've had it with the RPG at the moment with the asset packs, where we made some and then...
Where they renamed texture to texture 2D and suddenly none of the assets worked.
Yeah.
And we had to go in manually and change them all.
So really waiting for beta to be out before we make any decisions on that itself. But yeah.
Yeah. But there's a bunch of things you can do then, because one of the things that Godot 4's navigation server can do is it just calculates all the navigation regions, even if they've moved. So you could have 4 moving platforms.
And the ability to fall off. That would not be
Yup.
infuriating at all. Todd says he always prefers dark mode. And I do as well. I agree with that.
I mean, speaking as an aging goth, I'm with you.
And Richie has said UV obstacles, maybe.
Okay.
I presume by UV you mean glow in the dark?
Yeah. So I don't want to put emission on them because that'll stop the transparency. But if we do this and we just go back in and re-comment this out.
Yes,
that's one thing that might work.
That is what Richie meant there. Yes, ultra violent. You put a bomb on me.
Infrared to ultra violence. Ultra violence for a fun little London-based industrial / gabba band in the 90s.
Nice.
Early 2000s.
What a name.
But too much light. What's going on here? Press the wrong button. Level. Okay. What did I do wrong here?
The energy of the world is 1. Is that too high, or is that just?
There's no energy coming in. Was it?
Oh, sorry. I was looking at the sky.
Curious. Let's see if that works. I don't know where that light was coming from. Boom, boom, boom. Woogie woo. Oh, I know why.
And a difficulty setting in Doom. Oh, what a great game back in the day.
It was. Okay. What's going on here? Oh. Excuse me.
You are excused. What was it? Oh, yeah.
I just put a bunch of lights in the scene.
That'll help. Why is there so much light? I know why.
How's that? So now you can see the edges of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little hacky, but I'm basically using the fact that they have refraction, but you can't let the light through. I see you coming for me. That's a power down right there. Oh, well, that's mine. Oh.
Nope, you got it.
I wasn't paying attention. So yeah, putting a light there would do it. Let me just reset all of that. We need you off, and we need you off.
Sometimes it's a bit difficult, isn't it? Trying to remember everything you've turned off and on again.
Yep. Level city. Start with sunlight. Remove. Nope. Remove that. What are you doing? Save that. Great. And let's go over here and set you to 1. No. Thank you. Just check that worked. So yeah, we're coming up to the hour.
Oh wow, that's flown through.
Concerns, thoughts, things. Did you enjoy being backstage in Godot for an entire thing, rather than us talking about what what's going on with the company and the courses? I win.
Woohoo!
Pure skill.
That's awesome. Right, I'm going to make us both large again. Oop. Oh, you're filling the frame now.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can open the thing and read the comments.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed that. I love really focusing in on one thing rather than scattering all over the place. I think there's a time and place for everything. yeah, we'd love to hear your feedback on that one because it's the first one we've done. What did you like?
What are your thoughts on the project? Is it a game? Is it a course? Is it Super Yan?
I haven't seen the chat update in a while. Are you there, guys?
I can't see chat at all.
Yeah, I had that problem. I had to break it out and then it did appear. Yeah, good stuff, guys. Todd, thank you.
I'm glad I loaded this. You just have to read it for me.
Yeah,
I can't see it. So
it just is good stuff. And Jan, we need you to do the toucan wobbly dance. No one's really written that. That's just me.
I don't know what that means.
No, me neither. I should have been more specific. Roderick says, I really liked it. Good to relax after a work Monday. Looking forward for more.
Excellent. Well, next week will be blendering, where we're going to jump on into YouTube.
No, we're going to hop on over into Blender.
And we'll be playing with geometry nodes, and I'll be reading the things, probably, unless something else comes up. And then after that, we'll be playing a game. I'm trying to figure out what we're going to be playing. Maybe we'll play. So there's games that will be fun to play, things like Starbound, but you have to go through the first hour or so before you actually unlock the ability to travel between planets, which means a lot of the actual gameplay is gated behind a long tutorial. Well, a long session.
Yeah, I mean that's discussion worthy in itself, but probably not an hour's worth on. I can't believe we had to sit through an hour before we could play the game.
It's something that we should probably like do it off camera. And that there's Operation Tango, which I know we finished, but we could always play again. There's Spy Party.
Now, Spy Party, you guys have to behave and not tell us.
We have to not read the chat. Spy Party would actually be very difficult to talk while we're doing it.
Yeah, so it needs to be. I think in general we're either going to have to play.
What's Spy Party?
Sorry,
what's Spy Party, Marky?
That'll do. So Spy Party is a game, a 2-player game where one of you is hiding in a party, and one of you is an assassin, and you can see the laser dots of the assassin or the sniper. I don't know. It's a sniper, isn't it? And you've got to blend in with AI characters.
The creator calls it a reverse Turing test, because you have to fulfill certain things, but and in certain places with certain other NPCs. But if you move suspiciously, the sniper will take their one shot.
Or like a human. Yeah, so if you don't walk straight lines to everywhere and stop in the one thing you can do to really give yourself away is bump into an obstacle and then kind of slide around. It's like
just
there you are.
It a bit. Yep.
There are some levels that are a lot easier than others.
But it takes a lot of concentrating. There's games like We Were Here Together. It's Human Fall Flat, of course. There's Stick Fight.
Yeah. I mean, I think it needs to be either a casual game that we can stop and talk about as we're going along, or it needs to be something more intensive that we can either pause and talk about something that's just happened in the game.
Streets of Rogue as well. That's a very interesting game.
I like Streets of Rogue. I can't promise with an audience present I won't be Trolley.
Trolley is okay in that game. It's a great example of a systemic game.
Yeah, I didn't realize quite how many options there were in order to complete a level. So
you can just fail all your quests.
Yes, I'm no good. Bye.
Yep. If there are no quests, you can leave the level now.
Yeah, I've managed to kill everyone. Oops.
Yep. Congratulations. Actually, I think killing everyone's probably an achievement.
So Roderick said, I've just read that one out. So nice to see spaghetti code while getting things running. It's not just me. Yep, that's always going to be the case. But keeping these things real, I suppose, is a good way of showing that we're humans. We're not always superheroes. I do refactor things. Yeah, definitely leave refactoring until a point where it's kind of working. And then you recognize the mess.
Yeah, and it's no point refactoring till you know the kind of shape it needs.
So I've done this a lot with scripts in Blender. I often write a very linear script, and it works. And part of me is going, why do anything at this point? The script does exactly what it should do. But then when you want to come back to the script and add functionality to it, it starts to break apart and fall apart. And then you start to notice, I'm repeating myself. And then you start, perhaps I should put these things in functions. And recently, I even went as far as to create a class to store things in, and it's something that I've never done before necessarily, but it actually opened up a load of more options because the code was structured in a more maintainable way.
Yep.
Gerard says this is really cool. Look forward to the Blender sit along. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it as
Wonderful.
well. And he said he'd kind of like this to be a course. He would pay for it. Well, I've recorded it. We can put it on the site for $1. Well, I've often wondered about putting the live streams on the site as well, not paid for, just so they're somewhere else as well, just in case YouTube deletes us or itself at one point. And Richie has got a request for a walk like a robot.
For me or the NPCs?
Unclear.
I mean, I genuinely don't know.
No, that's fantastic. Oh dear, yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Blender one next week. I think it will be on geometry nodes. As I was saying at the very beginning, so thank you for sticking with us. But what I was saying at the very beginning was I want to play around with vectors, and there's some things that I discovered. I think it was last week or so. I was just playing around, or in the last week, and there's some things you could turn on in Blender and actually show like normal directions and things like that. And then you start to get an idea about how geometry is actually put together, and when you're calling a normal in geometry knows what you're actually doing, because then you can do maths on it once you understand what is happening, and from that point it gets harder. My poor brain.
It does. But yeah, I think we're at that point.
Richie says it was a suggestion on how to blend in with the NPCs, but you're welcome.
Oh yeah, that's a good
suggestion. He said thank you for humoring the request. We will always err on the side of humor.
I mean, one thing I learned as a teacher is if you ask for an opinion, you have to take the opinion seriously.
Yes.
Otherwise, your students will stop giving you opinions.
Totally.
Yep.
Brilliant. Well, I think now is a good time to wrap up. I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. I have posted a link for the Making Comic Book Explosions. Thank you all for waiting and not clicking off and watching that and watching us. But that's a great video you can go and watch next.
It was a lot of fun. And thank you, Mikey, for hosting. And thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you for Kat for staying asleep and not clawing me while I was trying to do this. And thank you for sweat allergies. They're great.
Yay. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you next week for a Blender version of this. Take care.
Bye. Press it.
Press it.